Hello students, welcome to IAS Academy. In today's video, we are going to discuss about Indo-US relations. Now, why we are discussing about Indo-US relations? Because as you know, recently in the United States, elections has taken place where the Donald Trump has won the election and it's set to become the president in the coming month of January 2025. In this regard, during a ceremony that was held in we can call as the NASA's premises, the government officials of US largely belonging to the Biden presidency, Biden's administration, they have talked about that the Indo-US ties have covered a much more longer distance since it was since last 4 years, and also it is in much more better place than it was before. And in this regard, they have said that we are leaving the Indo-US relationship in much more stronger place than what we inherited. So, let us try to understand that what are the major development that has happened in the sphere of Indo-US relations, especially during the Biden presidency. Now, the context in which we are discussing this issue. So, first of all, the outgoing administration of US president, it has said it was leaving Indo-US relations in a very strong place, as we have discussed before, and it has exuded confidence that even when the President Donald Trump will take oath to the president's office next year, the relationship between India and US will not get weakened, rather it will get strengthened. Because if talk about the Indo-US relations and the general policies that US has toward India, it does not only enjoy the support from any one political party, but rather it has a bipartisan support. In most of the cases, whether it is the Democrats or whether it is the Republicans, both have supported policy stances of US generally toward the India. In this context, the US administration also has hope that and has showed that they have ambitious approach and ambitious we can say future expectations, and it anticipates a high level of engagement in the last few weeks of the Biden administration. So, many more work need to be done here. If you look at the John Feiner, again a government official from the US administration, he also has said that especially in the context of Indo-Pacific region, the ties between US and India can act as an anchor of stability. This is especially true in the current situation where the geopolitical tensions and rivalries are prevalent across the world, where the war and confrontation is being seen across many battlegrounds, many we can say front, whether it is Israel, Lebanon, Israel, Syria, within the Syria, Russia, Ukraine, right. So, all these situations is basically requiring an stability, and this anchor of stability's role can be provided by the Indo-US relationship. In the sphere where there is a huge possibility for both countries to cooperate and collaborate, he has highlighted that in developing general prosperity of the public or the people of both the countries, contributing toward the security, not only domestic security, but also ensuring international security by ensuring safety and freedom of movement in the Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean, encountering what we can call as the attacks, especially the piracy related attacks or the terror related attacks against the vessels traversing across the ocean waters that we are seeing. So, in the naval areas, in the areas of domestic security as well as in the terms of border security, both countries have a huge what you can say huge basically opportunity to cooperate and collaborate. And he also have exuded a confidence that both countries can work together toward a path of development, and this path of development is not restricted to the bilateral relations only, but rather it can stretch all the way from the Southeast Asia or to the Africa. Again, here the theater that is mentioned here is the Indo-Pacific region, where the focus of US has shifted in the recent times. Now, see, before we go and discuss about the development that has happened during the Biden's presidency, we have to understand that Joe Biden has always remained an old friend of India or a true friend of India. That means not only during his presidency, he has worked for strengthening the bilateral relations between two countries even before that, going back many years ago. In this context, obviously, during his presidency, enormous consequential phases of growth and development we have seen in the bilateral relations. But if you go back to year 2006, when the Joe Biden is just a senator, at that time he has said that his dream is by the year 2020 to see India and US becoming the most what you can call as the closest nations in the world. He wanted to develop India and inculcate a relationship which he wanted to inculcate with India was a relationship of a strong alliance, strong allies. Now, this is something that he has worked upon during his presidency also. The major role that he has played is something we can understand that in year 2008, a very remarkable and watershed agreement was signed between India and US, that is Civil Nuclear Cooperation Agreement or Indo-US Nuclear Deal as we can call it. If you remember, the deal was signed between the president at that time, that was George Bush, and Prime Minister of India, that was Manmohan Singh. Now, George Bush belonged to the Republican parties, however, Joe Biden belonged to the Democratic Party, but even during those times, he has worked tremendously hard to get and garner the bipartisan support both from the Democratic parties as well as the Republican Party to help in signing of this nuclear deal. So, he also has played a very important role there. Apart from that, when Joe Biden was appointed as a vice president during the presidency of Barack Obama, he visited India, and that time he made the Prime Minister of India, that was Manmohan Singh, and the Vice President of India, Hamid Ansari as well. And during those time also, he has taken a lot of steps and worked toward implementing such policies to strengthen the Indo-US cooperation. In the month of August 2020, when he was basically a Democratic presidential nominee and was contesting the elections against Donald Trump, that time he said that he will stand with India as far as the confrontation of issues along India's borders are concerned. Now, if you try to understand what has happened before August 2020, in the month of April 2020 followed by in the month of June and July, there has been a report of clashes taking place between the People's Liberation Army of China and the Indian security forces along the line of actual control in the Ladakh. So, this statement of his is very, very important because it clearly shows his support that as far as the China's confrontation with India is concerned, US will stand with India and provide the support that it requires or if it requires. So, a very important statement I would say was given by him that already has showed that what will be his policy during his presidency. Now, if you refer to the 4 years of the presidential term that the Biden enjoyed, he has taken a lot of steps to improve the bilateral relations. The most notable being of elevating the Quad grouping. The Quad grouping, as we know, is a grouping between 4 countries, that is Australia, India, US and South Korea, which many times it is portrayed as an anti-China group. However, India has categorically rejected Quad being having anything to do with the anti-China policies. But nonetheless, before Quad meeting used to take place between the level of the officials of both countries or at the level of the external affairs minister. It is during the presidency of Biden he has elevated it to the leaders level, where he began to participate and have meeting with the prime ministers and the presidents of the respective countries. And this is a level that is considered as the highest level of discussion in the international diplomacy. It was during his term, first Quad leaders summit has obviously taken place. Now, since then Biden and PM Modi, we can understand that the importance US and India both attaches to the bilateral relations by the fact that both the leaders have met 6 times at the leaders level and 4 times they have met in the person as well. Biden saw the opportunity including India also in the US tech ecosystem. Now, this is something very important because no country in the world, whether it is Japan, whether it is South Korea, whether it is Taiwan, have not been able to develop itself in develop its capacity in producing any kind of tech, especially talk about the semiconductor chips and all that, without the direct or indirect support of US. Even in the rise of China's capacity to produce hardwares, electronic hardwares, US role cannot be mistaken. So, first of all, we have to understand that what is the major development that has happened in the technological sphere as far as the both countries are concerned. Now, due to the wishes of Joe Biden to include India in the US tech space, later on in the 2023, most precisely in the month of August 2023, we have seen a meeting between the national security advisors of both countries, the NSA of US being Jake Sullivan and the NSA of India being the Ajit Doval. So, both met in the Washington and both of them signed and launched what we refer as the ISET, which is an initiative for the critical and emerging technology. This is a path breaking development and it also basically paves a path for both countries to collaborate in the areas of strategic technology. When you talk about the area of strategic technology, it does not only mean that import and export of certain critical minerals and metals, but it also basically enable India that in future, along with the US or with the support of US, it can develop, co-develop and co-produce many of the technology in the tech spheres. And in this context, to connect the two countries' respective innovation ecosystem, especially many such sectors have been highlighted where collaboration will be ensured, that is in the evolving technology, next generation technology that we can say. It is in the sphere of artificial intelligence, in the sphere of quantum technology, in the sphere of telecom, as well as in the space. So, these are the major development that we can say has happened there. Then later, when both leaders met, the US has given a green light where it has decided and also wished that it want to develop a semiconductor fabrication plant in India. This is going to play a very important role or vital role in not only the security of India, but also in the next generation telecommunications as well as the green energy application. So, this is a very striking development. That is why both leadership has referred it as a watershed arrangement. Very interestingly, now this kind of collaboration between India and US has been seen earlier also, but these were largely between the C to C, we can say, between two different companies, whether it is private companies and all that. It is for the first time US military has also participated in such kind of collaboration. This is something we see in the area of space also, where both NASA and ISRO have worked together, have joined their hand together on the International Space Station. They also have basically joined hands to develop many instruments such as the NISAR project, about synthetic aperture radar that has been created by them. So, there is a lot of scope in the cooperation of space as well, given that India is now trying to leap forward and want to send its Gaganyaan mission. So, this is again going to be very interesting development. Apart from that, the critical mineral supply chain and emerging digital technology is another area of cooperation where both countries have worked tremendously hard and have achieved the desired result as such. However, we also have to understand that during the Biden's presidency, we have seen the ties being strained as well, especially in the recent times. The most important development that has happened here is when the allegation was made against India that Indian government officials or to some extent Indian embassy in the US was involved in a plot against the assassination of US citizen. The US citizen is Gurpatwant Singh Pannu, who we know is a pro-Khalistan supporter. He want to separate, get a separate country of Khalistan by dividing Punjab region of India. And in this regard, US court, when he filed a civil suit in the US court, has issued summons to the NS Dole because he is the one who was alleged to be behind the planning of the assassination attack and all that. And the result of this we have seen in the recent time when the Indian delegation went to visit United States, NSA Dole was missing from the delegation. Also, if we talk about the visit of the Prime Minister to the White House, a group of Sikh activists and pro-Khalistan separatists also visited the White House. So, this also is seen as a kind of signal that US want to send that it will not allow or it stand in solidarity with the US citizens, whether it is pro-Khalistani or not. So, that is something that we have to aware about. Now, what is the future ahead? We know that Donald Trump is going to take office. So, should we be concerned that it can cause any kind of adverse impact on the Indo-US ties? Will it have any kind of straining impact on the Indo-US ties? Now, there we do not have to worry about. That is what the experts generally argue, because during the first tenure of Trump, two major events were held. One, if you remember, was in the Ahmedabad, where you have the Namaste Trump event that was held, where President Trump was greeted by by thousands and thousands of people in the Ahmedabad stadium. And then to basically resonate it in the US also under the President Trump's presidency, a Howdy Modi event was held. So, not only at the government to government level, but also we can say at a personal level, both President Trump and Narendra Modi enjoys a kind of close bonhomie or close relationship. Also, the situations became more better during the presidency of Trump because he termed China as a strategic rival and adversary to the US. And because of this, he has thus aligned the Washington and New Delhi's position, because today we know that India has a lot of problems with China, and apart from trade, most of the bilateral relations between India and China has been frozen, especially after the 2022 clashes in the line of actual control. So basically we can also say that what President Biden has done in last 4 years is just has carried the legacy of Trump forward. An example of this we can see in the context of Quad also. Though it was the President Biden who elevated the Quad to the highest level of leadership, but also it was the Trump who revived the Quad. Before that, Quad was largely restricted to the sphere of academia and did not yielded any significant result or proposals. But it was a Trump who revived the Quad in the year of 2017. So apart from the general, we can say minor, we have problems and issues, whether it is related to his statement that he has given about the anti-BRICS currency or about the imposition of tariffs on India. So apart from these minor issues, generally we can expect that the bilateral relations that India and US have developed in last 1 or 2 decades is going to be further strengthened also during his presidency as well. And this is something, this kind of thinking is resonated by the South Bloc as well. South Bloc basically refers to the seat of Prime Minister's office in India as well as the Ministry of External Affairs, because they believe that in the larger scheme of the things, the two countries' strategic alignment, especially vis-a-vis China, means that such challenges are only minor wrinkles that need to be ironed out. Otherwise, there is no such threat between to the Indo-US relationship, no matter which president is in the office. That is all about this particular video. I hope you got the gist of what the President Biden's officials have said and what we can expect in future as far as the Indo-US relations is concerned. That is all for this particular video. Thank you very much.